Alright guys, so now that you have just completed your very first 3D printer, now we're going to go into how you can find things to 3D print. For this, we're going to be going into Thingiverse, which is one of the most popular 3D printing hubs. A 3D printing hub is a place where you can find other 3D objects that people have either made or 3D scanned and then uploaded so you can recreate it on your 3D printer for free. One of the most popular places to go to is a website called Thingiverse, which is curated by another 3D printing company called MakerBot. There's lots of other 3D printing hubs that are out there. Some, like My Mini Factory, are very, very popular for people that have Prusa printers where they want to start maybe mass manufacturing from scratch. But Thingiverse is usually the place to go for beginners and intermediate people where they just want to play and find something that is really fun to do and may also download, remix and change around and then re-upload so people can make better prints faster. To start, we'll go into Thingiverse and we'll be able to actually look around on this website to see all the really cool stuff that is to find on there. On the homepage, which is curated about every week, you'll find things like really cool artworks, things that will accessorize any games that you have, cool art pieces. Cosplay is very, very popular on here, tools for your 3D printing, things that attach onto other tools that you may have all around your office, little sculptures, games, everything. It is a very, very large website with hundreds and thousands of individual models that people may have just made for the pure reason of giving it out to the public, so you guys can print it at home and absolutely make whatever you want. With this, we can actually play around and go into what has been popular over this time. If you look at the most popular of all time, you'll see some really cool projects like making a 3D scanner from scratch and being able to recreate anything that you already have and then print it on your very first printer. Another one which we will be printing today, we'll be going in a little bit more depth in a little bit, is this thing called a 3D Benchy. It is this adorable little tugboat, but it actually has a bunch of torture tests built into it. So by printing this and then going to some forums, because it's such a popular project, people will be able to help you out and say exactly what may be wrong in your 3D printer or in your slicer settings, which we'll get into in a little bit. Other really popular projects you'll come across are things for your 3D printer, things for other things in your life, things as cool as making a Frankenstein light switch for all of your light switches, if that's something that you want to do. For every 3D objects that you have in Thingiverse, there also is a correlating number up top, where you can search this number and it will always pull up your item. Within every single item, you'll also have a whole list of things you can do on the side. You can download all the files, which if you actually have sometimes 20 different parts within this one item, it may be a good idea instead of going through and downloading all of them individually. But you can also go and look through all of their pictures. A lot of them will have multiple different versions or multiple parts that go together. And you can also take a look at them in the three-dimensional view, where you can download it and then take a 360-degree view of your object before you even print it. Lower down, you'll be able to see all of the thing details, and this is probably just information about the 3D print, what they recommend you printing. It says here they recommend 0.2 millimeters, 3 shells, 20% infill, which is all very, very common settings that you'll have in your printers anyway. Continuing on, you can see all of your thing files. These are all of the individual items. You can also go into the comments where people say, hey, I printed this and it either turned out fantastically, or hey, this maybe didn't work as much as possible. And if anyone has any things that they've made, they can also post it in the makes section. This is where people say, hey, I printed this in glow-in-the-dark filament, a filament that actually has strontium particles that can absorb light throughout the day, and then during the dark, emit it as visible light. And within it, people will then post, hey, I painted this to make it look kind of steampunk. If they then say, hey, I found something that we could make even better about this, you'll find this in the remixes section. This is where people can download your file, edit it in a CAD software, maybe something like Fusion 360, and then re-upload it for everyone else to see. So back to the home screen, we can now go and download our file that we're going to print today. We're going to print the 3D Benchy, that little tugboat, and we can do this in lots of different ways. We can either type it in our search bar up top. We saw it in the most popular of all time, but you can also go into all different categories that they have in here. There's a really great section if you are really into something like fashion, where you can make your own personal bangles or earrings. If you are really into tools like I am, then you can find things that actually accessorize any other drills or Dremels or 3D printers perhaps. Speaking of 3D printers, there's also an entire category just on 3D printers, where you have things like accessories, parts, tests, where you can actually push the limits of your 3D printers. And yes, there's even an entire category just on 3D printers, so you can actually 3D print the parts for a new 3D printer. All the most popular ones up here have been printed hundreds and hundreds of times, where people have started off doing a kit build like we've done, and then say, hey, I actually want to make my own custom 3D printer that may be bigger or better or faster in any different way, and they've all started from Thingiverse. So today we're going to be downloading 3D Benchy. And when we search this, we are going to be clicking on this cute little tugboat. And because there's lots and lots of different features that you can have on here, we're just going to be printing the main one. We're just going to be printing the main tugboat, which is this file right here. If you just click and download the individual file, it'll pop up on your lower left if you're using a PC, where it is saved as a .stl. And STL is code for stereolithography. It is the most commonly used 3D printing file, so anytime you download any type of file that you want to 3D print, it's usually going to be an STL. But if you then say, oh, I actually want to download all the files up here, then you'll just have to download it as a zip file, unzip it, and then search in there for your specific file.